Diego Lopes will be fighting Gene Silva, and I did not see this matchup coming at all. First and foremost, I want to express my disappointment in Yair Rodriguez for not taking the fight against Diego. I think a fight between Diego Lopes and Yair Rodriguez would have done numbers, and I'm a Yair Rodriguez super fan, so I would have been really excited to see this fight. Not so much excited because I do like Diego Lopes as well, but I think the bad blood between Diego Lopes and Yair Rodriguez is so potent to the point where a fight between them would have done numbers, and I mean numbers. But lo and behold, the UFC decided to go in a different direction. I think this also, in a side theory, I think this also kind of certifies that Yair Rodriguez will likely be fighting Volk for the featherweight title next. I'm not incredibly certain on that, but I think because Diego is now fighting Gene Silva, I think that frees up room for Yair to fight for the title, which I don't agree with, but it is what it is. So for this video, primarily, we'll go into Gene Silva versus Diego Lopes, and in my next video, we will discuss Yair versus Volk 2. But for now, let's stick with Gene Silva and Diego. So yes, this fight is happening. It's crazy, and I think the bottom line, the main idea of all of my thoughts on this fight is going to be closer than a lot of people may think. I'm going to predict that I think most MMA fans are going to side towards Gene Silva, just because of how powerful and precise and driven he is, and how often he's been demolishing his opponents. I think people are going to think he's going to be able to do the same thing to Diego Lopes. But I think the one thing that disproves that opinion or that take is that Diego Lopes has an iron chin. I think he's going to be able to stay on the feet and trade with Gene Silva. So much so that this makes this fight a 50-50 fight. I think Gene Silva versus Diego Lopes is going to be a 50-50 fight. I think it could absolutely go either way. Yes, Gene Silva is explosive, precise, and driven. I would argue Diego Lopes is the same. He's just about as explosive as Gene Silva. I think he's just as driven as Gene Silva, and he's just as precise as Gene Silva too. I think he can trade back with precision. I think he will be able to have some really explosive exchanges with Gene Silva, and I think this fight will go the full amount of rounds. It will go to a decision, and it will likely be a split decision or a draw. I think this fight could definitely be a draw. I don't see it going to the ground unless Gene Silva presses the issue, and if Gene Silva decides to press the issue and bring this fight to the ground, Diego Lopes is more than capable of handling his own on the ground. He is very skilled there as well. So I think this fight is going to go either way. You know, if I had to give you guys a winner in this fight, a victor, I'm more inclined to go with Gene Silva, just because I think Gene Silva is a little bit more artistically gifted with the way he strikes. I think Diego Lopes is explosive, almost just as explosive as Gene Silva is. But I do think Gene Silva is a little bit more creative with the striking than Diego Lopes. He'll throw like kicks that nobody's even seen in years. He'll throw them out there, and they will connect on Diego Lopes. My thing is they won't be able to connect hard enough to knock out Diego because Diego has such a great chin. So he will stay standing, and he'll take the moment as an opportunity to step forward towards Gene Silva and land his own punches. So that's why I think with every emphatic, kick or punch that Gene Silva throws, Diego is going to be able to eat that, step forward, and land two more. So I don't know. I think this fight could definitely go either way. Like I said, if I had to give you guys a victor, I would say Gene Silva. But my official prediction would be, and I think this is the first time I've ever done it, it's 50-50. It's 50-50. But again, if I had to bet, if I had to put my money on someone, it's Gene Silva, But from a purely analytical and objective perspective, it goes either way. It goes to a decision. It's going to go to a split decision. And it's going to go either way because both of these guys are going to be throwing with power, speed, precision. I'm sure Gene Silva will headhunt a little more than Diego. Diego will likely go to the body a little more than Gene Silva. But I think both kind of amount a little bit to the same thing when thinking about significant strikes. So I think when you're purely considering significant strike percentage, I think it's going to even up. I think maybe Gene Silva gets maybe 1% over Diego Lopes, but it pretty much evens up. And it'll be a tight race, flip of a coin decision. They may have to run it back sometime in the future. But yeah, this is a great fight. I don't think there's going to be any bad blood. Both of these guys are hungry to get to the belt. They're both, like I said, energetic. They're both explosive. They're both precise. They're both, blockbuster fighters. They're both entertaining, edge of your seat type of fighters. And yeah, I look forward to seeing just how explosive a fight between the two would be. But bottom line, I am still a little bit bummed out about Yair not being able to perform against Diego. I think I wouldn't agree with Yair getting a title shot against Volk so soon, but it is what it is. It's the fight game. Anything can happen. But bottom line, you let me know what you think. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, turn the notifications on. I love each and every one of you guys, and I'll see you all in the next video. Glove knowledge.